I want to thank the team at Community Education Group, Dr. Kelly Keith, Lee Soro, and the other team partners that actually did all the work. I'm just the pretty things. Again, my name is Tony Young. How many of y'all from the U.S.? Because it'll change kind of how I talk about this a little bit. Okay, so one of the things that we did is that we tried to do some innovation. I think we're talking about integration around HIV. So I'm going to tell a little story. Some of you who know me may know this story already. And I tell a story about Appalachia. For those of you that don't know where Appalachia is in the United States, it's Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, some parts of Louisiana, some parts of rural New York. So it's about 423 counties, but it's about 26 million people. They're primarily white, and they're primarily voters for our current president. It's a very conservative part of the country, and it's a very rural part of the country. The story that I tell is that I say that there's a train that's rolling through Appalachia. The engine of that train is the OxyContin crisis that we know, and then now a poly drug use crisis. And the next car on that train is hepatitis C, followed by Hep B, Hep A, workforce development challenges, economic development challenges. And the caboose of that train is HIV. And ask that you imagine that train laden with the impact of lost jobs in coal, mining, and manufacturing. And actually now farming as well, and healthcare. And our job in community education group is to be the boulder that stops that train and extracts. One of the things that we had to do is to figure out how we do this integration. How do we get testing these communities where they don't believe themselves to be at risk? And that's what I think that we see now more than ever. We have to have conversations with communities who don't believe that they're vulnerable. And I think that's a bit about what we're here in Singapore. Those communities that are in those halfway houses, the journey is not over, it's just beginning. So how do we screen them? I got the opportunity to go to this event here called Healing Appalachia, a country western star that some of you may or may not know named Cairo Childers. He does this concert series every summer, and it's to raise money for people who are impacted by substance use disorder. I gave a talk. And I thought that the people that were there were probably to that big bold light that you see in the middle. But when I stopped and took the photo, and looked down at my phone, I realized that they went much further back. Now, I'll tell you in this room a little secret. The only reason I took that photo was because I was one of 4 black people there and I wanted to make sure I got out. Jokes, yes. So, once I did take the photo and I looked down, when I came off of the stage, what I did is that I asked the convener of this event, his name is Dave Lavender, if we could do HIV testing. Has they ever thought about HIV or hepatitis C testing at this event? And he said no. That first year, they had approximately 10,000 tickets sold. The next year, as you can see, this is an aerial photo, that number almost doubled. So we were able to begin an HIV screening and hepatitis C screening at this event. Now, we had originally projected that we wanted to do about 1,200 tests at this event. In the last minute, our medical partner actually pulled out. And we believe that they pulled out because of some political reasons. And I think that you were talking about that a bit as well. And I think that in this climate of conservatism that we see going around the globe, getting access to care and treatment and testing, and now I dare say, if we look at the United States, we have the potential to have about 90 of our community-based organizations defunded. What we really have to think about is how will you create more on-ramps? And for this population of people, primarily white, primarily heterosexually identified, but are impacted by substance use disorder, what we realized is that the same things that had worked in urban environments in Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and other places, we had to do here. Meaning, we had to take the test to them. You couldn't wait for folks to come into a clinic or come into a local unit and ask for an HIV test or a hepatitis C test. We knew that that just wouldn't work. Now, what people told us was that we were bananas. They told us we were bananas because they told us that HIV and hepatitis C didn't reside here. But what a lot of people don't know is that we're looking at outbreaks in West Virginia, Kentucky, of not just hepatitis C, but HIV. Now, I want to stop the story for a second and tell you how we even got here. We got here because in about 2016, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention put out a report. And it gave the 220 most vulnerable counties in the United States of America. And those vulnerable counties actually ended up being a lot of them in Appalachia. Over 40 of them were in Kentucky, over 28 of them were in West Virginia, and so on. So I kept thinking, if those counties that had high incidence of drug overdose, had high incidence of hepatitis C, as I told you about that train, I kept saying HIV had to be around the corner. It took about 4 years for us to get the first real health alert out of the state. It said that there were 2 cases in the southern part of the state of West Virginia. Now, why was it significant to me at the time? It's because they attributed those 2 cases to men who were heterosexual men. I thought, that's bananas. So the 2 gay guys in West Virginia count each other? Sounds odd to me, but oh well. And I said, but it's probably not true. What's probably true is that we have to give a better emphasis to people who are using drugs and people who are living what they would identify as relatively normal lives. People who use drugs on a regular basis and still go to work. People who may be in recovery and still go to work. We have to figure out new screening mechanisms, and this is how we ended up at Healing Appalachia. Now, what we ended up doing, was our partner pulled out, was that we were able to actually test 141 people, not the 1,200 that I wanted, but it was really, I want you to stop and think about, look at that picture for a second. Just focus on it, of how many people that is. So we randomly selected, we went up to with our community health workers with people, we offered them, at first we were going to offer them nothing. We ended up offering them a Starbucks gift card, and I think the closest Starbucks is actually always 25 to 35 miles away. So there's not even a Starbucks nearby. I just had some leftover Starbucks cards, so we said we would offer them. We had no money for this. I want to also point that out. We had no budget for this whatsoever. So we offered them Starbucks gift cards, and a lot of people accepted, over 100 of them, 141 to be exact. Now, think about it for a second. Rural Appalachia, middle of nowhere, a country western concert. You're getting ready to see some of your biggest stars. Look, Chris Stapleton, if you know the song Tennessee Whiskey, he was coming on that night. So do you really think that you're going to stop and get a Hep C and a HIV test that night? Nope. You're looking for a cold beer, a hot dog, and a good time. But instead, 141 people said yes to the test. The scary part, over already. Scary part is that in that testing paradigm, we had 2 folks that were reactive for HIV, did not know. We also had 16 that were reactive for hepatitis C. And if I recall correctly, only 2 of them even thought that they might have had hepatitis C. So when we think about the importance of us going into communities that don't know their vulnerability, that's our mission. And we have to do it, and we have to do it with fewer and fewer resources as time and days go on. I'm already over time, and I like to tell a long-winded story, so I missed all my slides. Here you go, here's some more, there's them testing. That's some of the survey data. You can get it all online. They told me I was supposed to talk about all these numbers, but I think you like my story a little bit better. And I'm gonna go sit down, and I'm gonna thank my team again.